Thank you for being with us. Broadcasting live from Chiapas, Mexico, I'm Acevedo. It's 9:30 a.m. Mexican time, and today let's start with national news. The Senate of the Republic was unanimously approved a constitutional reform in Article 127 aimed at eliminating the so-called golden pension received by former officials from state-owned companies, development banks, and other public institutions. The aim established that a return payment may no longer exceed 50% of the salary earned by the sitting head of the federal executive branch. With 116 votes in favor, senators from every political party backed the reform. The measure is expected to reduce extreme cases such as that former deputy director of the new defunct Luz y Fuerza del Centro utility, who currently receives more than 1 million pesos per month. Under the new rule, that amount will drop about 70,000 pesos once the provision takes effect. During the debate, lawmakers from the PAN, PRI, and citizen movement parties argued the reform remained complete, noting that it does not address pension received by high-ranking members of the armed forces or retired justice from the nation's Supreme Court. The chairs of the Constitutional Points and Legislative, Historia Commission, Senator Oscar Canton Cedina, and Enrique Isunza clarified that the reform will not apply retroactively. Instead, it will take effect from the moment it enters into force, allowing the government to recognize the pension system without requiring anyone to return previously received funds. Morena Senator Saúl Monreal emphasized the well-averaged pension in Mexico ranged between 6,000 and 8,000 pesos per month. Some public sector pension reach as high as 1 million pesos monthly, a level he described as a disproportionate burden in public finances. The bill estimates potential saving of 5 billion pesos each month. It was approved in its final reading with 115 votes in favor and 6 abstentions, and is now moved to the Chamber of Deputies for review. And continue with more news. After the proposed electoral reform was rejected in the Chamber of Deputies, President Claudia Sheinbaum held a meeting at the National Palace with key leaders from her political coalition to review possible next steps. Among those attending were Morena congressional coordinators, Deputy Ricardo Monreal and Senator Ignacio Mier, along with Manuel Velasco, the leader of the Green Party Senate's caucus. Also present was Alberto Anaya, national leader of the Labor Party. Later, the meeting with Deputy Benjamin Robles Montoya and Senator Giovanna Manuelos de la Torre, both from the Labor Party, joined the discussion. According to participants, the purpose of the gathering was to review the legislative agenda and evaluate different scenarios for the upcoming week in Congress, including what has been referred as a possible Plan B. Ricardo Monreal explained that this alternative approach will involve advancing secondary laws as well as certain institutional topics were not included in the reform package and failed to pass in the lower chamber. He added that the meeting will effectively respect one that has been scheduled earlier in the week but did not take place, noting that the president has already mentioned the possibility of pursuing this alternative path. Lawmakers involved in the discussion said the focus now is to identify a legislative strategy that could still allow the administration to move forward with key political and institutional goals despite the setback in the Chamber of Deputies. Participants agreed that close coordination between the Morena Party, the Green Party, and the Labor Party will be essential in maintaining momentum for the government's political and legislative agenda. With this meeting, the presidency is seeking to reinforce unity among the allied parties in Congress while also outlining a clear strategy to face the upcoming legislative challenge related to electoral policy and other national issues. And now, let's move to our next story. After 27 hours of restriction, Mexico's Environmental Commission of the Megalopolis, known as CAME, announced the lifting of the Phase 1 zone environmental alert across the metropolitan area of the Valley of Mexico. In its afternoon report, the agency explained that meteorological forecast models indicate a weakening of the high-pressure system that has affected the region since the beginning of the week, contributing to the buildup of pollutants. Authorities say the arrival of cold front number 40 will allow more humidity to enter the region, along with a steady northern wind and a drop in temperatures. These conditions are expected to improve ventilation in the basin and help disperse accumulated population in the atmosphere. As a result, Officials estimate that maximum ozone concentration will remain below the threshold level that normally trigger an environmental contingency. CAME also confirmed that the Hoy No Circula vehicle restriction program will operate normally this Thursday through Mexico City and surrounding municipalities. The program is designed to maintain control over vehicle emission even when the pollution alert has been lifted. This marks the fourth ozone-related environmental contingency recorded so far this year. Authorities have also registered one additional alert related to particulate matter known as PM2.5 and PM10. Officials reiterate their commitment to maintaining permanent air quality monitoring and to informing the public promptly about measures necessary to protect both public health and the environment. And continue with more story. Environmental activist and large-risk defender Eric Sarancho was shot early Wednesday morning while returning to his home in the community of San Pancho. According to preliminary reports, Sarancho, who also served as president of the civil association Alianza Jaguar, was struck by at least 2 bullets in the arms. He was taken to the San Pancho hospital where doctors report that he is currently in stable condition. Initial information indicates that 2 vehicles intercept the activist as they approach his residence. Witnesses say a man stepped out of one of the vehicles and opened fire before fleeing the scene. Residents in the area criticized that they described as a delayed response by police and emergency service, arguing that the assistance provided did not match the seriousness of the attack. Local community members also blame federal, state, and municipal authorities for what they consider failure related to environmental impact abroad, construction permits, and land use changes. They argued that those decisions have created a climate risk and vulnerability for environmental defenders working to protect local ecosystems. Members of the community are now demanding stronger protection measures to environmental activists, as well as justice and greater security in the region. In a public statement, residents condemned the attack and warned they will continue raising their voice in defense of natural resources and the people who work to protect them. And with more national news, President Claudia Sheinbaum announced the renewal of a national strategy designed to stabilize the price of regular gasoline across Mexico. The initiative is based on a voluntary agreement that now includes 96% of the country's fuel stations. Under the arrangement, the price of regular gasoline, commonly known as Magna, will remain at 23.99 pesos per liter for the next 6 months. Officials say the measure is intended to shield Mexican households from the effect of rising international oil prices and protect family budgets during a period of global market volatility. Victor Rodriguez, director of the state-owned oil company Pemex, explained that price will be maintained without government subsidies. He also clarified that the agreement does not apply to premium gasoline, which represents a much smaller share of the national market. Enrique Felix Robledo, president of the industry group Onexpo Nacional, highlighted that nearly the entire gasoline retail sector was joining the initiative, stressing the industry commitment to acting responsibly and guarantee accurate fuel volume for consumers. Robelo noted that although fuel prices have been under pressure due to tension and conflict in the Middle East, the international price of oil has recently fallen to about $66 per barrel, while the Mexican peso has shown the signs of stabilization. He added that the Ministry of Finance will continue applying tax incentives to the EF's fuel tax in a responsible manner, helping sustain the strategy. Through this agreement, authorities hope to ensure that the price of regular gasoline remains below 24 pesos per liter while maintaining stability in a challenging international economic environment. And now continue with more national coverage. Authorities in Mexico Caribbean state of Quintana Roo have launched a large-scale containment strategy following the early arrival of a massive amount of sargassum seaweed along the region's coastline. Officials from federal, state, and municipal government have begun deploying floating containment barriers offshore while also intensifying cleanup operations along affected beaches. Rosa Rodriguez, a researcher from the National Autonomous University of Mexico Institute of Limnology and Marine Sciences, explained that this year sargassum season is expected to be more intense than in 2025. That year, the amount of fluorine seaweed recorded in the Atlantic Ocean doubled compared with levels observed in 2022. According to monitoring data, approximately 9.5 million tons of sargassum were recorded in January and 13.6 million tons in February across the Atlantic basin. Those figures represent record high-level comparison with previous year. Although not all of the seaweed reach Mexican beaches, researchers estimate that between 5 and 10% eventually arrive along the shore of Quintana Roo. Oscar Rébora, head of the State Secretary of Ecology and Environmental, reported that more than 60 million tons of sargassum are currently floating in the Atlantic Ocean. Scientists link the phenomenon to climate change and rising ocean temperatures. In response, municipalities such as Playa del Carmen have launched initiatives like the Sargassum Challenge 2026, which aims to double the number of offshore containment barriers while expanding coastal cleanup brigades. Meanwhile, in Puerto Morelos, local authorities, Mexico Navy, and the National Commission of Natural Protected Area review a containment strategy covering 20 kilometers of coastline. Rear Admiral Topsin Flores Caramillo announced the development of the special sargassum collection vessel Natanz, capable of gathering more than 200 tons of seaweed per day. Additionally, support vessel and ambitious vehicle will also be used to accelerate removal operation. Authorities also confirmed the acquisition of 7,500 meters of new containment barriers. Plans are underway to establish a circular economy hub in Puerto Morelos that could process collected sargassum to product uses, aiming to transform an environmental challenge into opportunity for sustainable development. And now, I'm sending a warm greeting to all the radio stations that records ContraPeso Noticias across the region, starting with 101.5 La Multicultural de Suchiapa, Radio Flores Magón, Play Hits in San Cristóbal de las Casas, Radio Morena en El Parral, from Wixla Voz de Alerta, in Salto de Agua, from Villacomaltitlán a Comaltitleca, La Pegadora, Radio Canoas, Radio Esmeralda, La Rancherita 97.3, La Pichanchera La Mera Mera, La Cultura Radio, La Super Romántica 98.1, and in Oscoso 4 True, La Pegadora 95.7, Radio Conexión, and Radio Migrante. And now, we'll take a short break and return with more national news. Stay with us, we'll be back after the break.
¿Por qué conformarte con menos cuando puedes tenerlo todo? Deja de buscar. Torre Caribe es la mezcla perfecta de ubicación estratégica y hospitalidad de clase mundial. Quédate en el corazón de Cancún, disfruta de la cercanía a las mejores plazas, playas y vive la experiencia que solo un experto en Airbnb puede darte. Somos súper anfitriones porque amamos lo que hacemos y tú vas a amar quedarte con nosotros. Por eso aprovecha nuestros días increíbles de superprecios. ¿Qué esperas? Ubicación increíble, espacio genial, experiencia inolvidable. Torre Caribe es tu pase VIP al paraíso.
Invierte en tu futuro. Terrenos en venta con el clima perfecto, ubicados estratégicamente, con escritura pública. Disfruta del confort de vivir en un lugar tranquilo con acceso rápido a la ciudad. No esperes más, haz de tu sueño una realidad. En Inmobiliaria Roca, más que inmuebles, decisiones con valor.
Instituto Hispano te ofrece nuevas licenciaturas y maestrías. Licenciatura en Pedagogía, Criminología y Criminalística, Derecho y Litigación, Maestría en Planeación Financiera y Fiscal, Ciencia de la Educación y Educación Especial, en plan cuatrimestral y modalidad mixta. Contamos además con las mejores instalaciones y el mejor equipo académico para tu futuro. Tenemos la mejor opción para ti. Inscripciones abiertas. Comunícate al 961 64 15 41 y 96125266507.
Instituto Hispano Jaime Sabines, formando valores para toda la...
Hace Impacto tiene la solución más sencilla y rápida que te puedas imaginar. Olvídate de complicaciones y maquinaria pesada. Con nuestro increíble asfalto en frío, Solo necesitas de 3 herramientas básicas: una escoba para limpiar, un pisón para compactar y una palabra de edición para transformar tus vialidades. Así de fácil, en cuestión de minutos, ese molesto bache que te hacía perder tiempo y arriesgaba tu vehículo desaparecerá para siempre. La calidad duradera que Hace Impacto te ofrece es nuestro mayor compromiso. Queremos que disfrutes de caminos lisos y seguros sin largas esperas ni costosas reparaciones. Es tiempo de experimentar la magia del asfalto en frío de Hace Impacto. Para conocer más sobre esta solución revolucionaria y devolverle la fluidez a tus calles, contáctanos ahora mismo vía WhatsApp al 981-829-0201. Tu camino libre de baches está a un mensaje de distancia.
Los muebles que tú necesitas para escuelas, oficinas, laboratorios y comercios los encuentras en Giré Muebles. El mejor precio, servicio y calidad es nuestro distintivo. Cotice hoy mismo al 961-2127-068, por WhatsApp al 961-279-4168.
En este noticiero que sabe escuchar, desde la sierra llega el clamor. Se alza la noticia como un tambor. Montañas y ríos saben murmurar que lo importante aquí viene a informar.
Ya conoces al Teletón. Tal vez has visitado alguno de nuestros 27 centros. O conoces a alguien a quien le cambió la vida con sus terapias. Quizás conozcas el Hospital Infantil Teletón de Oncología. O alguna familia que encontró esperanza en este lugar. Nos conoces en cada espacio que ha cambiado para ser más accesible para todos. Contigo hemos logrado cambiar historias, deportes e incluso la manera en la que hablamos. Nos conoces porque juntos lo hemos cambiado todo. Y prepárate, porque todavía hay mucho más por cambiar.
¿Por qué conformarte con menos cuando puedes tenerlo todo?
Invierte en tu futuro. Terrenos en venta con el clima perfecto, ubicados estratégicamente, con escritura pública. Disfruta del confort de vivir en un lugar tranquilo con acceso rápido a la ciudad. No esperes más. Haz de tu sueño una realidad. En Inmobiliaria Roca, más que inmuebles, decisiones con valor.
¿Por qué conformarte con menos cuando puedes tenerlo todo? Deja de buscar. Torre Caribe es la mezcla perfecta de ubicación estratégica y hospitalidad de clase mundial. Quédate en el corazón de Cancún, disfruta de la cercanía a las mejores plazas, playas y vive la experiencia que solo un experto en Airbnb puede darte. Somos súper anfitriones porque amamos lo que hacemos y tú vas a amar quedarte con nosotros. Por eso aprovecha nuestros días increíbles de superprecios. ¿Qué esperas? Ubicación increíble, espacio genial, experiencia inolvidable. Torre Caribe es tu pase VIP al paraíso.
Los muebles que tú necesitas para escuelas, oficinas, laboratorios y comercios los encuentras en Giré Muebles. El mejor precio, servicio y calidad es nuestro distintivo. Cotice hoy mismo al 961-2127-068, por WhatsApp al 961-279-4168.
En este noticiero que sabe escuchar, desde la sierra llega el clamor. Se alza la noticia como un tambor. Montañas y ríos saben murmurar que lo importante aquí viene a informar.
Ya conoces al Teletón. Tal vez has visitado alguno de nuestros 27 centros. O conoces a alguien a quien le cambió la vida con sus terapias. Quizás conozcas el Hospital Infantil Teletón de Oncología. O alguna familia que encontró esperanza en este lugar. Nos conoces en cada espacio que ha cambiado para ser más accesible para todos. Contigo hemos logrado cambiar historias, deportes e incluso la manera en la que hablamos. Nos conoces porque juntos lo hemos cambiado todo. Y prepárate, porque todavía hay mucho más por cambiar.
Hace Impacto tiene la solución más sencilla y rápida que te puedas imaginar. Olvídate de complicaciones y maquinaria pesada. Con nuestro increíble asfalto en frío, solo necesitas de 3 herramientas básicas: una escoba para limpiar, un pisón para compactar y una palabra de adición para transformar tus vialidades. Así de fácil, en cuestión de minutos, ese molesto bache que te hacía perder tiempo y arriesgaba tu vehículo desaparecerá para siempre. La calidad duradera que Hace Impacto te ofrece es nuestro mayor compromiso. Queremos que disfrutes de caminos lisos y seguros sin largas esperas ni costosas reparaciones. Es tiempo de experimentar la magia del asfalto en frío de Hace Impacto.
Now, we'll look beyond Mexico and bring you an important international development. Stay with us, you're watching ContraPeso Noticias. On March 10, tension in the Middle East reached a new level after the United States and Israel carried out a series of airstrikes against Iran, action that the Pentagon described as the most intense operation of the conflict so far. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said the offensive involved the largest deployment of fighter jets and strategic bombers seen in the confrontation of date, while residents in Tehran report a height of bombardments that they describe as feeling like hell. The military offensive has unfolded in the same time as Israeli attacks in southern Lebanon, where the Israeli army has asked civilians to evacuate several areas following renewed clashes with Hezbollah, the Iran-Black military group operating in the region. The border conflict intensified after the assassination of Iran's supreme leader in earlier attack, a development that tempted authorities in Tehran to name Mojtaba Khamenei as his successor. Meanwhile, Iran Revolutionary Guard warned that it will block the flow of oil shipment through the Strait of Hormuz if equivocal foreign aggression continues. U.S. President Donald Trump responds by warning that even harsher retaliation will follow if Iran escalates the situation further. The threat of a block trade has already disrupted shipment of crude oil and natural gas, raising concern along global markets about the possibility of a wider energy crisis. On the political front, Iran's leadership continued to reject negotiations with Washington. Senior figures such as Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher have called on the countries to resist foreign pressure and stand firm during the conflict. Israel, for its part, has repeatedly stated that this desire to see the clerical regime in Tehran removed from power. According to Iranian officials, more than 1,300 civilians have died since the attacks began on February 28. After President Trump recently claimed that the war is virtually over and promised to prevent a worldwide economic collapse, his administration insists that the primary objective of the military campaign remains the destruction of Iran's missile capabilities and its nuclear program. However, the continuation of airstrike and a global threat to global energy supplies creating an atmosphere of deep uncertainty for both of the Middle East and the international economy. And we go to our last story. U.S. President Donald Trump stirred controversy this Tuesday, March 10, after referring to Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney as the future governor of Canada, reviving his repeated suggestion that the neighborhood country should eventually become the 51st state of the United States. Trump made a comment on his social media platform social while discussing the efforts to combat the spread of Asian carp, an invasive species created an ecosystem in Lake Michigan. According to the president, he has been working closely on the issue with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and has invited several other state leaders to participate in the strategy, including, as he wrote, the future governor of Canada, Mark Carney. The remark adds to a series of previous statements in which Trump has suggested that Canada will benefit from joining the United States as its 55th state, an idea that has been widely rejected by both the Canadian government and the country's public opinion. Mark Carney, leader of the Liberal Party, took office as Prime Minister in April of 2025, at a time when tensions with Washington were already rising due to the threats of a new tariff and trade measure. Relations between the two leaders had remained strained. During remarks in Davos earlier this year, Carney spoke about what he described as a break with the international order traditionally led by the United States. Trump later responds by saying that Canada essentially lives off the certain neighborhood. At the same time, Carney made it clear that Canada will not take part of the military strike currently being carried out by the United States and Israel against Iran. He emphasized that his government is focused instead on evacuating Canada's citizens from the region and strengthening domestic security measures. The Prime Minister recently held a phone call with President Trump to discuss economic trade and economic issues, although this office stressed that Canada was neither consulted nor involved in the military operation. Trump's renewed comments about annexing Canada are likely to deep diplomatic tension between the two countries and add another layer of friction to already complicated relationship. The remark come out at a time with global politics are already understained, particularly due to the escalation war in the Middle East and the growing uncertainty affect international allies. And that story concludes our international coverage for today. Thank you for staying with us here on ContraPeso Noticias. We appreciate your trust and your time. We will continue to bring you the most important story from Mexico and around the world with clarity, responsibility, and commitment to the truth. Have a great day, stay informed, and we look forward to see you again in our next broadcast. And remember, this is ContraPeso Noticias.